Welcome to another episode of Lost in the Script TV. Hopefully you had a stress-free 2 weeks as possible. Hold on. A lot of stuff coming up last week or two. A lot of stuff going on. Hopefully everything's been good for y'all. Like I said, stress-free, positive vibes. Hopefully your family and you are healthy. Continue to receive blessings. We're in December already. Man, oh man, this year went by incredibly fast. What up, Regina? Peace, love, and soul train to Sir Duke and the Lost in the Script TV trial. Shout out to y'all. Yeah, man, a lot of stuff going on. The year's almost over. We almost at Christmas, man. You know, when you look back at the year, like I said, it just seemed like it just went so fast and so much has happened and we've forgotten probably more than we remember. What up, mystery man? Guess who's back? What up? Hopefully things been good for you. The year's been good to you. But we're going to get to a lot of stuff today. Some recurring topics that's been going on for the last, hold on, y'all. All right, I'm good. A lot of stuff been going on and a lot of recurring topics that seem to not want to go away. Things just getting dragged along this year. And 2026 looks like it will be a continuation of this year, which was a continuation of last year. But we'll see. We're going to start with some news regarding one of the final of the last two people from the Tulsa Massacre. Let me go ahead and show this right now. Viola Fletcher, oldest survivor of the Tulsa Race Massacre, dies at 111. So we lost Miss Viola Fletcher. There's only one surviving member left. The main involved. I'm going to show this here. Viola Fletcher, the oldest known survivor of the Tulsa Race Massacre, has died at age 111. The city's mayor announced on Monday. Miss Fletcher was 7 years old in the spring of 1921 when the white mob attacked Greenwood and thriving black neighborhood in Tulsa, Oklahoma. An estimated 300 residents died in the violence. She and other survivors spent their later years campaigning for official recognition of the atrocity and seeking reparations. But then lawsuit was dismissed by the state's Supreme Court. Myron Monroe Nicholas described Miss Fletcher's life as lightning, a path forward with purpose. The last known remaining survivor of the massacre is 111-year-old Leslie Beamingfield Randall, who is, I think, 6 months younger. So rest in peace, rest in power. She's joining the other side, Miss Viola Fletcher, and unfortunately, she didn't get what we all thought she should have gotten for the trauma and atrocity she had to go through at the very young age of 7. Like I said, a lawsuit was thrown out. They have no desire, obviously, to repair, which goes back to the whole point of these people want to put you on a pedestal and use your name for recognition, but they never, ever want to actually repair what they did. What up, Craig? But rest in peace to Miss Viola Fletcher. Hopefully we get our justice in the future when the real judgment comes. But we have one member left. We'll see how, if they can somehow make a movement again, another push, but I doubt it at this point. But along with her passing, like I said, these people always points or use your name to add or something. And we know that's not the case. We want to use your name to validate a moral compass, and that's not the case. But Barack Obama decided to say something. Barack Obama says, as a survivor of the Tulsa Race Massacre, Viola Fletcher bravely shared her story so that we never forget this painful part of our history. Michelle and I are grateful for her lifelong work to advance civil rights and send our love to her family. A lot of that Michelle and I BS, but we know what the truth is. But Barack Obama, as somebody said right here in a response to him, she was 111 years old. She was 95 years old when you were elected to your first term. and yet you were silent on the issue of reparations, which you now conflate as civil rights. In your second term, she was 98 years old. For an entire 8 years, your administration ignored her fight. And now you want to speak on her death. But we know what Obama think about her push, what Miss Viola Fletcher and other members were looking for.
The African American community. Why not say then, this is for you, this is for African Americans?
That's not how America works.
Not how America works.
Has begun new initiatives aimed at helping young American Indians or Native Americans overcome the many challenges they face.
Why not target the African American community? Why not say then, this is for you, this is for African Americans?
That's not how America works.
Made sure to sign that paper for them, though. But we understand how the system works. Somebody has to be a bottom caste, and they've decided that was where Black Americans will stand. But also, to tie with this, when we talk about the atrocities this country has committed in the past and obviously here in the present, I saw this video here, which was very disturbing. It reminded me a lot of the so-called studies they call themselves doing, the race studies they did in the late 1800s, early 1900s. I'm going to show a video here. So they call, all they do is experiment on us. Reparations needed now. Trigger warning. So the staff at a jail were testing an electric vest on one of the inmates with an intellectual disability. So I'm not going to show the video. I'm just going to show just how this looks. So this is them. Cause because of the 80s, or was it the 70s? I can't remember, when all the institutions that were supposedly made to help people with mental issues, when they shut all those places down and decided to send those people to prisons instead, now they're doing stuff like this, putting electric vests on these people. Hey, this country, man, but it is what it is. This ain't your kingdom. This ain't your rest. You got to get yours. As the pastor, you got to get yours later, apparently. But now we move on to not so. That's the personality. And people are starting to change the narrative on this a little bit. Hold on. We still talking about Diddy, but now it's coming full circle. So everything people wanted the trial to be is exactly what 50 Cent's doc turned into. Biggest revelations from the new Netflix documentary about Sean Diddy Combs. Now, I don't know if y'all watched it or not. Some of y'all might be burned out on it and don't give a damn about Diddy at this point. But what everybody was wanted the trial to be, where all these supposed deaths would be tagged to Diddy, and all the underground stuff and the secret cultic or ritualistic things he was doing will be exposed, and all the, esoteric things he's into or whatever, sex magic, the sacrifices he might have committed. Everything he possibly did to claw his way to where he is would be exposed during that trial, and we got nothing. We got a bunch of male prostitutes that pretty much weren't even used in the trial, and then two women who were a part of those escapades who would turn into victims by the government in order to try and take them down, and it didn't work. Well, in this right here, it's an episodic documentary where they go into every allegation you can think of tied to Diddy. They pretty much put anybody in front of the camera who has any relations or ties to him to throw something on him. Murders, anything you could think of, they put in this doc. And some of them are starting to get to the point where it's becoming a show at this point. I think some people might say it always was, but regardless of what you think about who he is, the stuff around him now is starting to become more blurry. So you see here, Sean Combs, The Reckoning, chronicles his rise to become one of the most influential and powerful men in hip-hop, and his downfall to convicted offender. Rapper Curtis 50 Cent Jackson 4-part documentary on embattled hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs was released Tuesday on Netflix. And 50 being a part of this, to me, kind of soils it, kind of poisons it. Because the purpose of him being involved with this is because this is the man who had your baby mama as a in-house concubine. So it's kind of hard to take you actually caring about what Diddy was doing versus you trying to get back at him for, whatever. But it chronicles his rise to become one of the most powerful men in hip-hop and his downfall in a wave of accusations involving sexual assault and abuse. Jackson, who executive produced the project, told NBC News in a recent interview that he had worked on a documentary for over a year with director Alexandria Stapleton. Below are some of the key moments from the series. The murder of Tupac and Biggie Smalls. The documentary dives into the murders of rapper Tupac Shakur and Notorious B.I.G., a catalyst for East Coast and West Coast feud in 1990. Shakur died on September 13, 1996, 6 days after he was gunned down in a drive-by shooting. 6 days after he was gunned down in a drive-by shooting in Las Vegas. Notorious B.I.G. was gunned down in a drive-by shooting on March 9th, 1997. After leaving the Soul Train Awards after the party in Los Angeles with Combs. Combs discovered the rapper had signed with the label Bad Boy Entertainment. He discovered him and he signed with him, obviously. But here's what I'm gonna say right here. I saw in the doc they're saying that there was a hit out on Tupac's death by Diddy. And I'm gonna say this. We saw on video, because this is before we confuse everything on AI. We saw on video Tupac walk up to a man, punch him, and then go on to beat him with other dudes. They jumped him. That man, same man, then killed him later on that night. Or at least shot him and he died later from the injuries. I don't know how you can say that's on Diddy. Like, we saw what happened. We saw the cause and effect right there. So they also said in this doc that when Biggie died, that Diddy didn't pay for his funeral. He used the money from Biggie's actual estate to actually pay for the funeral. He used Biggie's money to pay for Biggie's funeral. Now, they came out and denied it, obviously, because that would be kind of crazy. But pretty much this whole doc is just levying all the allegations you've heard across the internet, all the rumors and, the whispers. They pretty much got on here and just said everything. Singer Aubrey O'Day reveals Sean Combs may have assaulted her. Aubrey O'Day, a member of the former girl group Danny Kane, revealed the documentary that she may have been sexually assaulted by Combs. May. She said a lawyer representing the alleged victim reached out to her about an affidavit the lawyer had received. I was told it was an assault. O'Day said she said she has no recollection of the alleged assault. So you put a person in the dock who apparently passed out or something happened where she don't remember what happened. She came to, went on about things, and she's being told it's assault. She's being told that she was assaulted, even though she doesn't know she was assaulted. And you put this in the documentary where you're just alleging all these things, you're throwing everything at the wall. This to me proves, like, at this point it's becoming burnt out. The 50 Cent thing, the Diddy thing, at this point, when he gets out, it's gonna be very interesting when he gets out how he decides to move. Is he gonna go quiet and just go to another country and move on about his business, or is he gonna try to go out and maneuver, not to gain esteem back, but to just kind of go at his quote unquote enemies, expose certain things? Because apparently some of the behind the scenes videos placed in this documentary were from a behind the scenes doc that Diddy was doing himself, but he didn't pay the people that he was hired to record this stuff. So they went to 50 and gave it to him, and then 50 sold it to Netflix. And I don't at this point I'm burnt out on it. I'm probably not gonna talk about this ever again, or not ever, but this will be less likely I speak about Diddy for a little while at this point, because it's just becoming nonsense. I'm not saying Diddy ain't a terrible person. He didn't do things. Obviously, he's a person who reached worth hundreds of millions of dollars, possibly a billionaire. Of course, he did things to alienate people, destroy people. He's one of those. Most people up there are evil, but the stuff they're throwing on him now, it just comes off as like a movie. It's just like, come on. Virginia says he'll come and resume the same thing. He's not going to learn because he doesn't believe he's done anything immoral. And that's my point. Like, when he gets out, there are more people in the industry that have done what he's done or accused of than people who haven't, probably. There are more people who agree like that he didn't do nothing wrong. Wow, he's just having some fun, and it is what it is. People just had bad experiences with him or something. But I just don't think it's going to be as down bad as they think it is. I think once he, quote unquote, beat the case and didn't get the years that they wanted him to get, I think it's already turning right now. That's why I think they want to get his documentary out as fast as possible. Because I think once he get out of there, it's gonna look different. It's unfortunate because if he is guilty of all these things, he's an evil, wicked dude. But once he steps foot out of that prison, the first interview he does, the first pictures he gets taken of him, the first time he's public, it's just gonna be different. I can already tell. As many as I've seen people see this documentary and say, "Oh, after this doc, Diddy is evil. I can't deal with Diddy." It's like, well, I thought y'all said that a year ago when he was accused of all this stuff. Now y'all, I don't understand. Like, what more are you learning about 50 Cent? I'm sorry, not 50 Cent, Diddy, where you're changing your opinion? I don't guess how you know it's all performative online. When he gets out, it's gonna be totally different. But also, Netflix responds to Diddy's cease and desist over docuseries. No one was paid to participate. Sean Combs' reckoning has been publicly condemned by Diddy's reps, but Netflix is standing behind it. Netflix is standing behind this Diddy documentary, pushing back against claims made in the cease and desist letter from the Bad Boy Records founder legal team. In the letter, dated December 1st and initially shared by Deadline, reps for Diddy and his affiliates criticized the 4-part docuseries as a hit piece, specifically zeroing in on the involvement of 50 Cent, the executive producer of the project. Ted Sarandos, Netflix co-CEO, got a mention too, with Diddy's team alleging that he had unsuccessfully pitched a documentary about the mogul in 2023. Thus, the choice of 50 Cent to produce the program as Netflix's vindictive response, that rejection, an attempt by Netflix and Mr. Sarandos to ensure one-sided character assassination rather than a balanced and accurate portrayal. The letter went to allege that the documentary interviews were paid, as well as to reiterate claims that some of the footage included in the production, namely videos showing Diddy in the days leading up to his arrest, was illicitly obtained. Netflix reps have now disputed all of this. The claims are being made by Sean Combs' reckoning are false, as a Netflix spokesperson told Complex on Wednesday. The project has no ties to any past conversation between Sean Combs and Netflix. The footage of Combs heading up to his indictment and arrest were illegally obtained. It's not a hit piece or an act of retribution. Curtis Jackson is executive producer, but does not have creative control. No one was paid to participate. Complex has also reached out to Rest for Diddy for comment. The story may be updated. A spokesperson for Diddy said the previous statement that they would not be commenting on individual claims featured in the Alexandria Stapleton the directed doc, which pulls from interviews from Bad Boy album alum Mark Curry and Diddy Kane's Aubrey O'Day, among others. Many of the people featured his long-standing personal grievances, financial motives, or credibility issues that have been documented for years. The spokesperson said on the day the series was released to Netflix, several of these stories have already been addressed in court filings, and others were never raised in any legal form because it's simply not true. The project is built around one-sided narrative led by a publicly admitted adversary, and it repeats allegations without context, evidence, or verification. Unfortunately, I kind of agree with what the lawyers are saying. They're kind of right. But it is what it is. Every dog has his day, and we'll see what happens when he gets out. If these people have they start moving slightly different. Also, it's kind of obvious with 50 Cent that he's using this as a way to catapult himself into a little more influence, especially in the film and movie industry. We know he built the studio down south. You got the TV shows he's doing, even though some people may say they're not the best shows, especially when they get past like season 2. Most of these shows don't really have long-standing support, but it's clear he's trying to get a footing in that world. And the same way he did back in the early 2000s with Ja Rule and all these people, he's doing the same thing with Diddy, using this as a way to build himself into more influence, to kind of get the place that Diddy had. Not saying he wants to do the same things as Diddy, obviously, because we've never heard those allegations towards him, but this is a stepping stool for him, it seemed like. Craig says, Diddy is freak in the story. That should have been the end of the story, but it's turned into this thing where people acting like it's the only person that ever did it. First off, he's not even the first person in the last decade that got arrested for this. Like, we just had Weinstein, you had Cosby, you have all these moguls, these big time studio execs and CEOs and stuff that's been hit with this stuff. And I get it. In hip hop, this is the first hip hop hit that this is taking. Well, that's not true. You could say it happened to what's the dude name from the Run DMC's? You got his name, the dude who ran off to another country. Good Lord, I forget his name. Hold on. Russell Simmons. Goddamn, how I forget Russell Simmons' name? It's like Russell Simmons though. Russell Simmons was one of those cases, but I guess it didn't get this big. I guess. But anyway, let's move on. Like I said, they already came out and said that the story of him taking his money, using Biggie's money to pay for his own funeral, isn't true. They came out and denied certain things. It is what it is. We'll see what happens when he get out in a couple of years. Speaking of disagreement. Speaking of disagreement, hold on. All right. Let's show this. Daz Dillinger calls Snoop Dogg a little bitch, accused him of theft, threatens legal action. Daz Dillinger calls Snoop Dogg a little bitch. The feud between Snoop Dogg and Daz Dillinger has erupted into a full-blown war of words, with Daz publicly calling Snoop a little bitch, accusing him of stealing royalties, forging signatures, and attempting to claim ownership of intellectual property. The longtime collaborators and cousins are now exchanging some of their harshest words ever. Let me play what Snoop had to say about his cousin. Hold on,
y'all. I see you ain't got shit to do but hate on me, huh? In a minute, I'ma fuck you up, cuz, on some real shit. Not physically, but business-wise. Broke as a motherfucker right now, so I'ma fuck you up in a minute, cuz. Leave me alone. Leave me the fuck alone. Leave me alone, cuz. I'ma fuck you up. Leave me alone. I see.
You know, it's funny how fast business goes bad when it's family. We hear stories all the time about these people getting in bad deals and stuff and complaining, but it usually take them years to call these people out, these execs or something that did them dirty. They wait years. This is cousin. He did it. He did it fairly quickly. The second Snoop got ownership of Death Row, he immediately jumping on it. So this is what Daz Dillinger had to say. Daz Dillinger calls out his cousin Snoop Dogg. And I got a point I'm making with this. First, Danny Boy, not Daz. And we know what this is really from, Craig. We know what it's really coming from, but I'm going to play this here.
Okay, so that's all your stuff. Now, you was Paul. Now, what are you talking about with the Paul?
Like I was saying, the Paul is trademarked. Like I told Snoop, you got rejected and I got accepted. You know what I'm saying? So that was the moneymaker. The Paul is like the Apple sign, like I said before. And like I said, they tried to go behind my back and trademark all my work and then flung my face like, yeah, nigga, we got it, nigga. That's all we wanted, nigga, because I'm finna sell everything for $1 billion.
And there it goes.
But
What do you mean by selling? He said he was going to sell it, or what? They're selling Death Row, the new Death Row that just.
Snoop, everything Snoop involved with, he gonna sell all that shit for $1 billion. You know, the motherfuckers cashing niggas out for their catalog. And then he sell that shit and he just start over and make new music. You know, it's easy. You sell what you got. You know what I'm saying? Nigga got all that money. I mean, I don't count niggas' pocket, but I got my own pocket. You know what I mean?
How many albums is over there? Now, how many albums is over there at Death Row? Because you were saying that it was the Doggy Style and there was two other ones you was talking about.
Yeah, you know, the shit that I got on the wall right here, you know what I'm saying? The Chronic is already going back to Dr. Dre. Tupac that took all his greatest hits album, all his albums, all his shit back over to Amaru. So what is left on Death Row? But I'm coming to get my shit, so what's going to be left on Death Row? So he got to make new catalog. And that's where all the new men at, you know what I'm saying? Making new content.
Now, it's kind of obvious this is about money. I don't know if Death Row is worth $1 billion. I don't know about that part. I think he's saying a number that he would maybe that's how he view Death Row because of how many records they sold and stuff. But if Tupac already got his and Dre already got his, and there's not really much left if we worth $1 billion. But the point I want to make from this is, we're fascinated to observe all of these conflicts, the new entertainment, I guess. Exactly. This is the entertainment. This is what their celebrity is now. If I have a cousin, I don't know how close we were growing up, but this is my cousin. He's a rapper. And after we work on music and we come up and we make all this money, decades later, he now owns a label. He owns the label. And with that label, he's trying to take the back catalog, he's putting new music with it, he's trying to start it back up, understanding that in America, it's not about building businesses, it's about building a business to sell. That's kind of the point. The only time you keep selling something until you can keep buying into something bigger. If that same cousin now owns that label and he owns the catalog and he's trying to sell that catalog for a big bag, now that's not to say that Snoop is one of those people that's so, giving and stuff and so fair. He might be a nigga that's cutthroat. He's trying to get his money. If that same cousin now owns it and is trying to sell it, wouldn't I work with them to make the money? I'm not putting this on like dads is doing what's wrong. It's just sad that you have these two cousins who are prominent and big deals are part of the label and they're coming to a head over money when they could easily work together to get the money that they need. Like I was talking to my cousin the other day and we were talking about counting pockets and how I'm not saying this is only a black thing, but we with black people, obviously. How this thing with black people where we don't tell each other how much we make. You got a cousin, a best friend you know them for years. The only way you know how much they make is what house they live in, the car they drive, how they dress. You have to pay attention to the stuff around them to count their pockets. We don't tell people how much we make. But people are afraid that if you tell somebody how much you make, they'll ask for something. So we don't share information with people. So it's now so prominent in the music industry and entertainment industry in general. These people work with each other, don't tell each other and to help each other with the business. Like you got first thing you when the lottery is at $2 billion or something crazy. Y'all joking around with your family and friends about what would happen if you won the money. The first thing a Negro say is, I ain't telling nobody I'm leaving. The first thing a Negro say is, I ain't telling nobody. And that mindset to me is showing why there hasn't been a true infrastructure built when you talk about entertainment for black people. Because everybody's working as individuals rather than trying to build something together because they're afraid that everybody gonna want too much of a cut. Everybody's trying to get a bigger cut. It's the scarcity mindset. It's like, it's not enough to go around. I got to get all that I can for me. It's this level of selfishness. It just shouldn't exist. And you would think it wouldn't be as strong with family, but it's stronger when a family is involved because people start calling people entitled. People think that because somebody expects things from them, that they only have that expectation because you think because you family, you get to get these things. Like, no, this would be good business. But then bad business in the industry is good business. So if you can get over on somebody, you do it. And then when somebody says, that's messed up, you go, well, that's how the business works. It's crazy. Craig said the dog pound worth $1 billion. I mean, that was all right back in the day, but $1 billion is crazy. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he's doing too much with that number, but I think he just, it's one of those things where you was there when it was happening. You know how it was. You know how big, you know the numbers that was coming in, the money that was coming in. This gotta be worth $1 billion. Especially when you start seeing the number some of these other artists is getting, these catalogs they selling for 40 and 50 million. You go, well, if they get that, then this death row, this dog pound stuff got to be worth $1 billion. This is just how they think, obviously. Is this one of the first time? When the last time Snoop got on the internet or did something publicly where he publicly was aggressive? Like ever since Snoop became Uncle Snoop, since what, early 2000s or so, mid 2000s, when he transitioned his image to being Uncle Snoop, where he was the not loving, but the funny, charismatic, laid back, chill, weed smoking uncle. He became that. Then he tried to change it to Snoop Lion, and nobody was going with that shit, so he went back to Snoop Dogg. But anyway, when he rebranded himself, but this is the first time I seen him get aggressive publicly in a long time, and it's towards his cousin. Hey man, one thing about blood, it may be thicker than water, but the intensity thick too. It's funny. But anyway, Virginia said, yeah, I think I was thinking the same thing, that Snoop really gets aggressive. Yeah, ever since he beat the murder charge and he was able to change his image, particularly, not to bring him up, but particularly towards white America, he's kind of purposely stayed away from that, you know? Like Ice Cube leaned into it. Like you look at the movies that he's done since like 2010, when he does interviews, he plays the angry black man character in all his movies. He does it in his interviews as a joke. It's a character that he uses in his interviews as a joke. So Snoop did the opposite. You know, he went against it. He kind of always makes sure he's smiling and being funny. Snoop connected himself to Martha Stewart. Like he went completely left from where he was, you know. But it is what it is, man. Family and business don't work. And but I will say, if Snoop already owns it through his acquisition of Death Row and Dog Pound, he owns all that. Is he really selling some dads? Now he's saying they went back and trademark stuff. But if I'm the new owner of something and something that's in my possession is up in limbo on who owns it, isn't the proper business thing to do to be go trademark it and make sure that it's understood, you know, dot your cross your T's? Am I doing something wrong to make sure that there's a name on everything instead of just letting it stay in limbo and possibly get pulled by somebody else? So I don't know, man. It is what it is. Blessings to everybody involved, I guess. It just says, no one will ever convince me that Snoop and Martha didn't get in between the sheets. She changed after her prison stint, then hooked up with rappers. Well, see, that's the fascinating part, right? Martha Stewart was the face of like home TV type stuff. the wife at home, the stay at home. Now, I'm not saying her, but her image towards who her audience was middle class white women. Came out, and her image, because it's been soiled with that felony, she got with the rapper. She started associating with more pop culture references. I don't want to say hip hop, but kind of. So because her name couldn't be aligned with the middle class Christian stay at home Caucasian mom in middle America, she went completely left and went towards the. I remember I saw a pastor. There was a Caucasian who was speaking about Martha Stewart because a few years ago she posted a picture in a pool where she was clearly trying to be lusty. She was trying to be seductive, and he was like, Martha Stewart went to prison, came out, got around the blacks, and turned into a whore. He spoke very strongly. I mean, he's a Christian, I guess. And he basically was painting this picture that it was the blacks that soiled her. It was the blacks that turned her into a whore, that turned her into this thing she is now. And damn, birth of a nation. Remember back in the 1900s, they told you, hey, don't let white women smoke weed. They'll sleep with black men. And I'm like, oh, you think it's the weed that did it?
Well, we don't believe you. You need more people.
But, you know, it is what it is. Regina says, no, she just felt freer to go for what she always wanted. Maybe that too. And if the numbers, I'm pretty sure that the numbers are the same. The numbers are the same in the male prisons and the female prisons. Most of the female prison is black. I think it's not as big with disparity as it is with the men. But so she probably was in that prison. She's in a white collar prison. There's a few black women in there. Although she's a celebrity, so I don't know if she was in a different type of setting. And she might have got comfortable with him, you know. Got out, and it could have been an image thing for both of them. Like Snoop is leaving this hardcore hip hop, killer nigga music, and he's trying to reach middle America, and she can't have middle America completely no more because she's kind of take their brands that seem so opposite and polar opposites, and they mix them, and it worked. People were so confused by it that it worked. What up, Uncle? Hit the like button for the family. Peace and love. Peace and love, Uncle. Peace and love. Blessings and blessings and blessings on to you. But yeah, this is crazy how, you know, brands change and how the Snoop image thing has changed so dramatically over the years. But that's why, you know, Snoop is the most famous rapper ever. He's the biggest, most famous rapper ever. When you say that, people say all these other names, you know, these Tupacs and, you know, Biggies and the Jay-Z's and all these other names. It's Snoop. He's the biggest name. The man took out the torch during the Olympics. Like, that's a complete 180 from where he was in the 90s. So It's crazy. It's crazy what media can do. Speaking of rebranding, we gotta get to this. All right, let's get to this. So we got to deal with this. Netflix wins the Warner Brothers Discovery bidding war, enters exclusive deal talks. This is crazy. So think about this. Netflix started as some little rinky-dink video thing where people used to go to the little box thing to get free, to get DVDs to rent. It turned into the streaming platform that was laughed at because it had to take other people's content. You know, it had to pay Disney, it had to pay Paramount, it had to pay other companies to use their content. So it was laughed at. Like, this isn't going to be successful. People can just come to us. Why would they go to you? And it grew and it grew and it grew and it grew and it turned into this big deal. And then the companies got, it's money over there. Disney said, give us our stuff back. We're going to take those licenses back. We're going to start Disney Plus. We're going to do it on our own. HBO did it. All these companies separated to these different streaming services. And now you got 15 streaming services you subscribe to because you want to watch these shows. And then people started, hey, I can't afford all this. So I'm going to have to pick and choose what I want month to month. So they started consolidating. They started merging these streaming platforms. And Netflix somehow became the big dog still. Netflix owning Warner Brothers. It's so many shows and movies they now have. We got The Wire, Sopranos, Game of Thrones. They got DC. All of DC. They got that now. They're pretty much the biggest. They are the now biggest platform in Hollywood. They're not even Hollywood at this point, obviously. They're bigger. And then Paramount, who are also in this bidding war. I said a few months ago when I didn't do no research, how did Paramount become a big dog in a year after being thrown with BET as a possible sale? Like, Paramount was considered an add-on to BET when they were in talks to sell BET. Like, Paramount was seen as like this little thing you add with it. Now it's the big dog now because a billionaire bought Paramount for his son, and he's Jewish, obviously. I was surprised to find out that a Jewish person didn't buy something that was attached to black people, that being BET. He just wanted Paramount. And then you see the money that BET lost, and you see where Paramount went. It's just crazy how these single people, these one person, can just change the dynamic of a whole industry that quick. But Warner Brothers Discovery is moving forward with exclusive talks with Netflix, the Wrap has learned. They have selected Netflix after streaming giant offered $27 a share for the audio and streaming assets, a mix of cash and stock worth $82 billion. How much money Netflix got? The streamer announced on Friday Netflix disclosed that it would have to pay a breakup fee of $5 billion if it walked away, while it would get $2 billion if they backed out. Netflix securing the win over rival suitors Paramount and Comcast represents a stunning turnaround from just 2 months ago, when co-CEO Greg Peters shared big media mergers are not having an amazing track record, and Paramount buying WB seemed like a foregone conclusion. Fast forward to today, and Netflix has won a furious M&A bake-off after 3 rounds of bids. So I saw also the TV show the TV show Welcome to Derry. It's now going to be it's in this. It's a part of this. And they were making a joke that Derry is going to be completely different now if it's on Netflix. It's going to be biracial central. But obviously the regulatory hurdles are being talked about. Is this a monopoly? Yes, it is, obviously. Should a regulator stop this deal? Yes, they should. Is this good for creators and people that want to make entertainment? No, it isn't. You have one big dog that's running everything now. We're down to 4 studios now? That was like 5 or 6, like 60 years ago, 50, 60 years ago. We're down to 4 now. And what's funny is, as people make this joke every time these type of mergings happen, we're pretty much slowly going back to just cable at this point. But yeah. Also, obviously, this right here, anonymous A-listers WBD acquisition, streamers could hold a noose around the theatrical market, which was the biggest point. People talking about movie theaters. Is movie theaters dead at this point? Do people really still go to the movies? You know, like when I was coming up in my teenage years, the expectation was you probably gonna go to the movies 2-3 times, maybe 4 or 5 times a year. But as a teenager, you go on high school dates or whatever. So the movie theater was the spot, the skating rink or whatever. But now most people probably go to what's the average amount of time people go to the movie theater versus waiting for it to come to streaming? Like I remember when Sinners came out, you had the people that went to the movie theater and saw it. That's how it made all the money it made. I think it's the number 1 grossing horror movie ever now, Sinners, if I'm not mistaken. But there was a lot of people that waited for it to get to streaming. And I think it took 3 months. And that was on purpose. Like they could have took it to streaming after a month, but there was like a contract where in his contract, I think he said he wanted to stay in theaters a certain amount of time to get as much life it could out of the movie. And it was able to make the money they made, $200 million. With Netflix getting this, I don't think you're going to see a bunch of releases staying in theaters that long. As a matter of fact, they came out and said that this is going to be a shorter calendar. It's going to be in theaters now. We're going to make sure as a matter of fact, right here. Netflix says Warner Brothers movies will remain in theaters, but window will evolve to be much more consumer friendly. Virginia said, crazy, I still haven't seen Sinners. Maybe that is what I'll end this Blur 2025 on. You still ain't seen Sinners? I guess maybe it didn't grab you, I guess. I watched it. I liked it. Travis was really the biggest fan of it. He wanted the movie to be more like that movie Spell or Skeleton Key. But it didn't really turn into that. It was more like that movie, the vampire movie from I think it was the 90s or 80s or whatever. It was a good movie to me, but I see a lot of people saying that it was kind of overrated. Because now award season is about to come up, and it's like, hey, I want you black people to know this is not gonna win every award. Now let's just calm down. Virginia says my niece has seen it 3 times at a theater. Actually, when she enjoyed it. I've seen people say that Sinners was a better movie experience than the actual movie. Because the theaters they put it in, when Ryan Coogler came out and explained the different camera angles they were using, cameras they were using, and people say that in the theater it's a really good experience, but as a movie itself, it's okay. It's above average to most people. But yeah, this is kind of obvious that this is going to happen. They're going to come out and be against it. A consortium of top industry players have sent an open letter full of alarm to Congress, describing the potential economic and institutional meltdown in Hollywood if Netflix succeeds in its effort to acquire Warner Brothers Discovery. The letter was sent via email to members of Congress from both parties on Thursday from an anonymous collective identifying themselves as the Concerned Feature Film Producers. The group explained it was leaving the letter unsigned, not out of cowardice, but for a fear of retaliation, given Netflix considerable power as a buyer and distributor. Netflix and Warner Brothers Discovery declined to comment. One well-placed source confirmed to Variety that the group includes a number of prominent filmmakers. The communication outlines 3 areas of great concern, including Netflix should stand to destroy the theatrical film market by its escalating or eliminating the amount of time Warner Brothers films would play in theaters before hitting the combined Netflix HBO streaming platforms. Sources told Variety earlier on Thursday that Netflix's current proposal for Warner Brothers would have a theatrical window as thin as 2 weeks of exclusivity before moving to streaming. Another insider familiar with the deal process flatly denied this, saying that the periods would be longer. Rival bidders, Comcast and Paramount, both have robust theatrical distribution outlets. Paramount has specifically pledged to keep Warner Brothers operating as a standalone business that will make a minimum of 14 films for theaters per year. So if you're a movie buff, you should have wanted Paramount to get a hold of this. Virginia says, Duke, when you showed the 2 pale Netflix guys, I'm recalling the one on the right is a hubby of Clarence Avant's daughter. Yeah, I forgot about that. I forgot all about that. That's true. I forgot the Netflix dude. I forgot all about that. That makes so much. That's why another reason why people complaining about Netflix getting this is the history of Netflix films now, especially, tends to lean heavily into what they call the diversity movies. They make sure to have LGBTQ, interracial, biracial. They tend to include that in movies that didn't have it before, and that's what I see from this is a bunch of remakes. I think Netflix is going to do a bunch of remakes, a bunch of reboots of these TV shows and movies they got access to now. I think you talk about the superhero films and with DC, with Superman and all that other stuff. I think you're going to see a lot of remakes. I think you're going to see a lot of that stuff. And people are going to be pissed, but big bank take little bank. It is what it is. We have, it is what it is. I saw this, and I'm surprised there haven't been more people from this era, should I say, that haven't had their associations with certain people exposed. And what I'm talking about is this right here. Leslie Odom Jr. to adapt Rolling Stone article about Sammy Davis Jr.'s ties to Church of Satan into a horror movie. Now, for years I've heard and seen people talk about the connection that Sammy Davis Jr. had with, what's his name, LaVey? Antoine LaVey, the person who started the Church of Satan, even though he didn't really start it. It was a woman named Madame Zavaklia, I think that's her name. She's the one who actually started the Church of Satan. But he kind of spent off and did his own thing, and after he got his teachings from her. But I'm surprised this isn't more talked about, because it ain't just him. When you look at Sammy Davis Jr. and the Rat Pack and what they were doing, the cultic and ritualistic stuff they was doing, he was very blatant in his skits and stuff that he did. Like in his comedy, he was kind of admit that he did things to get his fame. But yeah, exclusive Tony and Grammy winning 3-time Emmy and 2-time Oscar nominated singer, songwriter, and actor Leslie Odom Jr. is set to adapt the August 2024 Rolling Stone article Dance with the Devil by Alex, I don't know how to say their last name. Odom will also star in the horror feature. Odom acquired screen rights to the article, which explores Sammy Davis Jr.'s unlikely connection to Antoine LaVey and the Church of Satan. The story follows what drew Davis to that world and the overlap between the beloved entertainer and one of America's most controversial figures. The project is also a partnership with Rolling Stone Films. That's also why you see Marilyn Manson associated with a lot of these rappers and actors and stuff randomly sometimes. They consider themselves to be thinkers, and they just think outside the box, and you got to listen to what they mean by things, and it ain't necessarily a spiritual religion and all that other stuff. But this is the article they're talking about, Inside Sammy Davis Jr.'s Secret Satanic Past, how a TV pilot called Poor Devil begat a friendship between the performer and Antoine LaVey, founder and high priest of the Church of Satan. So they went through this whole article explaining how they met, how he got involved with him, and a lot of other things as you can see here. I remember in that book I always bring up, I think it was Transformation of America or Thanks for the Memories. I think it was Thanks for the Memories. But she said that one of the people she was sent to was Sammy Davis Jr. She wasn't very high on Sammy Davis's looks in the book, by the way. She made sure to say she thought he was ugly. But she said along with entertainers like him and many others in the entertainment industry, she was sent to be used pretty much as a prostitute. What they call it, MK Ultra sex kitten. So that whole underworld, that underbelly that exists, this is why entertainment and politics have always been connected. Antoine LaVey's daughter, do I even got to say, I'm pretty sure y'all know that. So politics and entertainment has always been connected. And when you read some of these books, these autobiographies, you realize, like I said, a lot of these figures wasn't who they were painted to be by the media, who they showed us in the public. Like this facial expression that Sammy Davis is doing right here, where he's has one eye closed and one eye open. That's been a internet conspiracy since I was like 15 years old. That means something. And when you bring it up, you on the internet too much. This is a conspiracy. But if every celebrity, any person of any celebrity influence does the same pose the same way, like at some point it ain't just a coincidence. At some point it's a thing here. But we'll see how this movie does, and if they make the movie about him, will they include his friends? Would it include what he did to be a part of the Rat Pack and all this other stuff? We shall see. Now we gotta get to this right here. Here's just now. I'm not gonna agree with this person at all. But I'm gonna speak about this not from a perspective of support or agreement, but I'm gonna try to see it from a different perspective. Let me show this here. Hold on. Regina said, watch the Real Dana podcast with Joe Brown earlier. It's called The Day of Reckoning and Dark Side of Hollywood. Wowza. Yeah. Oh yeah. Judge Joe Brown be giving a lot of stuff. Like I said, the first thing I ever learned from Judge Joe Brown, or the first thing I heard him say that went against what we knew growing up, and I'm not saying what he said was true, was about Tina Turner. When he gave a totally different perspective on Tina Turner. By the way, did I talk about this last week? I mean, the week before last, where I found out that Tina Turner had some level of association with apartheid South Africa. I didn't know it. Apparently, she performed for them, was considered an honorary white. I was like, damn. Then I found out that Shaka Khan, I think it was, who was a part of the Black Panthers when she was like 17 years old, she ended up performing for Israel and being a Zionist. I didn't even know. I think she has a child with a call. I didn't even know who the father of her kid was. I didn't know none of that stuff. I really spent a long time not keeping up with celebrities. Virginia said the stuff he talked about backs up what you were just saying. Yeah, a lot of these people are into the occultic beliefs and stuff like that, but it kind of goes with the money, I guess. Joel Santana says reading is less important than financial literacy. You can listen to a book. This is when you realize that some people may not understand why they're learning the things they're learning. Part of the reason why you learn how to read is to learn comprehension, understanding it. If you don't know, you have to know what a word means to understand it, so you can know how to use it. So yeah, that's it's kind of. Joel Santana says financial literacy holds more importance than reading. This is the money worship that happens too. The Dipset member had joined the podcast No Funny Shit on Sunday episode when teaching children about financial literacy came up in the discussion. By the time they get ninth grade, they should have learning how to start a business, Santana said, adding they don't really need to learn how to read. What is the point of saying that? The first point was good, that by ninth grade there should be some level of a way of learning. A path to start to develop for the ninth graders. Not saying they should have a path, but a path should start to develop by that age, by that grade, where you start guiding a kid towards the direction they want to go. What is the point of saying they don't need to know how to read? Like, what is the point of even adding that? Virginia says a lot of people avoid on occultic subjects. It's impressive that you know who Helena Volovsky is during your segment. Yeah. I'd say the last 5 to 10 years, like I've had to read a lot more stuff, and you have to know who people are and not who you're told they are. A lot of stuff, I always say, a lot of these people that we big up from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, go look up who they really are. Go look up the other stuff, not just the entertainment they was a part of or the activism they was a part of. Go find out about some of their private life, their personal life. Who were they with? Who did they divorce? Who they have a child with? What were their beliefs on certain other things? Their religion. It's a lot of, like, I always said, what's his name? Robinson, Jackie Robinson, wasn't quite who we thought he was. Muhammad Ali, there's a lot of stuff going on with his career that's a little different. But he was attached to a lot of other people. When you talk about what's his name? The white dude, Playboy. A lot of people went to him, like a lot of political figures, activists. Some of our greatest thinkers, some of our scholars was hanging around Playboy Mansion. Okay. Into this facts, because nothing is as it appears. Absolutely nothing. While respectfully explaining himself, the rapper proposed that people aren't supposed to be illiterate. It's up to say, we just saw a whole social media back and forth about the anti-intellectualism going on in America, and particularly amongst black people. We saw a video go viral of a dude from Atlanta on a podcast saying that hip hop don't need all those words. That you don't need to be rapping all those words. I just want to hit. And then you see Joel Santana say that we don't need to know how to read. So we know celebrity is dead. It's been a while, but at some point, you gotta just shut people down. Like we talk about education in America, and in what's that country? In the Dutch people, in their schools, they have 3-level high school. So when you take a test, and based off of your grade, your scores, you go to a certain level of high school. In some levels, you can't even go to college. So you have to test a certain level to even have the option to go to a certain high school to go to college. Like the entire system that we have here in America comes from the old Germany. It is socialist. That's why it's funny to see all these so-called MAGA right-wing people that be, I'm against Marxist socialist beliefs. And it's like, well, your school system comes from communism. But anyway, shut up, Joel. Like, it's nonsense. Virginia says, I'm learning these three aren't the same, but the pattern connection to movements is fascinating. Socialism, Marxism, and communism. Yeah, that's why I like to use those somewhat interchangeably. But like you said, they're not all the same. Some of them have different beliefs when it comes to government control. Some of them have different beliefs when it comes to distribution. They're social versus government control. It's just a little bit different for the most part. But the people attached to them tend to have done the same thing, which is a lot of people end up dying. And yeah. After himself a common sense nigga, Santana said he'd rather have 0 books smarts in place of street smarts. I try to understand people. Like nowadays you can listen to a book, he said. Adding that his most recent read was The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. Oh Lord. I'm pretty sure his next book gonna be Rich Dad, Poor Dad. But anyway. When KP pushed back, saying that reading was necessary to review contracts, Santana called the podcaster crazy and said there are apps that can read them for you. So now you have AI. Reading is just when people want to embarrass you and try to play you, or you can't read your contract. Anybody who said you can't read your contract, they didn't read their contract, Santana said. They had a lawyer read their contract. They're just saying it to be funny. Santana wouldn't be the first rapper to brush off reading. Last year, Birdman visited a New Orleans prison where he scoffed at the inmates saying they needed books. Oh, yeah, I forgot all about I forgot all about Birdman telling the prisoner that what you need books for. Birdman, a prisoner told him, give us some books, like help us get some more books. Man, told what you need books for. Oh, Lord have mercy. But it's in a surprise. We seeing this growing thing. That's why it's funny. Angela Rod, what's that? Native Land Podcast got all that backlash for those comments they made, and weeks later, you get 2 stories like this of these people publicly saying that intelligence is not education, but education is not important at all. America's circling the bowl, I guess. But anyway, let's move on. What is this? Or should I play the clip? No, I'm not gonna play the clip. We already get the story. Speaking of sleep, a University of Alabama shuts down student magazine for black students, women students. University officials told editors of Alice in 1956 had that they believed they were out of compliance with Trump administration guidance on anti-DEI policies. The University of Alabama suspended publication of 2 student-run magazines on Monday, claiming that the publications were not in compliance with federal guidance on diversity, equity, and inclusion. UA officials to Monday evening told members of Alice, a magazine focused on female undergraduates, in 1956, a magazine focused on black undergraduates, that they would stop publishing, citing their interpretation of the July memo from Attorney General Pam Bondi, which makes non-binding recommendations on compliance with anti-DEI policies supported by the Trump administration. I was under the impression that we were protected from being affected by anti-DEI legislation and rulings because of our First Amendment right of freedom of press, but it appears I was wrong. Alice Magazine editor-in-chief counter to the statement Tuesday. That y'all were a real threat. In this title, obviously, they said he got rid of the Black Student magazine and the women one. The women one was the real target. I'm going to keep saying this. That was the real target in this with the DEI thing they're trying to get rid of. But because they're after them so hard, unfortunately, a lot of Black people and their businesses and what they're doing is going to be affected negatively. And you got to find a way around it, which we're going to get to that now with Pharrell Williams and what he's Pharrell Williams faces backlash on his comments about DEI and Black people. So if y'all remember, he pretty much came out and said, that he don't talk politics. That was the main point he made. I don't talk politics. I don't believe in either side of the aisle. They're all wrong. It's divisive if you pick a side. And then he was talking about the DEI thing. I will say his words were kind of taken not nearly out of context, but what he was really saying, people kind of went with the way, they took it the way he didn't mean it, it seemed like. This is what he had to say. The Happy Singer shed light on how he feels about the current political landscape, plainly stating how he hates politics because of the inherent divisiveness. Like, despise them. It's a magic trick. It's not real. I don't believe in either side because I think when you pick a side, you are inadvertently supporting division, he explained. Yes, it's not popular point of view, but I just got to say, when I think about it, the wells are drying up. As if there wasn't a head scratching enough, Williams then went on to share his thoughts on supporting business and hiring people solely based off their skin color. He took the time to survey the crowd and see how many Black people were in the room, and then questioned if they thought they were the best and that they would want a job because of they're Black or because they're the best person for it. Do you want someone to support your startup because you're Black or because you're the best, he asked. So I think now for me, it's about us having the best ambition, and that's the reason why you should support those businesses. Yes, they happen to be Black and brown. He made sure to throw that brown in there, but it should be based on the thesis that they're the best, not because of the shade of their color. He later added, if diversity, and equity and inclusion ever come back in style, cool. But in the meantime, I'm going to focus on being the best because I can bank on that because that's what's going to get you the position. Now, what it sounded to me, he kind of saying hustle. Hey, we was able to get in through this. They're not dealing with that no more. We got to find another way in now. We gotta go even harder. We got to earn it even more to make sure we get the chances that we deserve. Basically, he's saying, don't just wallow and, feel sorry for yourself. Go even harder if you want it, obviously. Not saying it's not saying it's fair, but it is what it is. Now, I see people responding with this. Pharrell has been an idiot when it comes to politics for a while. A Black man raised in the South espousing apolitical rhetoric isn't someone to be taken seriously politically. It's dangerous, willful ignorance. He know that. He just wants to be a contrarian as a DEI hire himself. Well, he says he's not a DEI hire because he's the best. For Pharrell to monetize his Blackness and benefit from Black money and then tell Black folks that he left behind not to pursue political outcomes that will keep them safe from the harms of their help him, by the way, out of this, is callous as fuck. Now, he ended up responding to this, and I'm going to finish up on this particular topic with his response. Let me play what he had to say about this. I'm not going to play the whole thing, actually. I'm just going to play a little bit of it, and I'll read the main part.
Since most people don't like to read or do research anymore, soundbite this. God is the greatest. Soundbite this. I'm from Virginia. Soundbite this. You don't know what I know. You ain't seen what I saw. No. You ain't been where I go. I'm from the mud. As a child, nobody's been evicted more times than me. Lights turned off, water turned off, and at times had to pump the water. And I didn't have a name brand sneaker until I was 16 when I could afford them for my first paycheck from McDonald's. Soundbite this. They were Adidas, low top, Instincts, the ones with the Laker color. Sound like this. Don't be fooled by my bourgeois taste and heart. I'm proletariat. In fact, I'm lumpen proletariat.
All right, and that's where he lost everybody. Referring to a millionaire bourgeois, he literally referred to himself as having bourgeois taste while also calling himself a proletariat. You can't be working class person or lumping proletariat as a working class group while also saying you're a bourgeois. Like, hey, what? What up, Mark? What up? What up? So he was able to call himself having a bougie taste while being a working class person and being a part of the working class group. Basically, he almost called himself, when you look up a proletariat, lumber proletariat, basically it's kind of like connected to Marxism. A lot of political analysis connected to Marxism, obviously. To once again, these champagne socialists. But he went on to say how he has organizations to help people and he's for black and brown striving, yada, yada, yada. I think people like this don't understand when they sound off to people. And once again, his initial comments don't offend me. I heard a man say, hey, they making it harder for us, so we're going to have to do is work harder. That's all I heard. Now, like I said, it's not about it being right or wrong as far as it becoming harder for some people to be in certain industries and stuff, with them doing the whole DEI thing being a bad thing, even though the whole purpose of that existing was opportunity, not outcome. Not about you getting the best outcome. It's about you getting the opportunity to show what you can do so that you can get your own, so you can save yourself, basically. But yeah, Pharrell, he didn't do really well with that speech. It didn't hit like he thought it would. Jenna says, yeah, his initial comments didn't offend me either. I guess that's somewhat disagree, but his opinion nonetheless. Yeah, I mean, he basically saying I want to be the, and it also comes with that whole, he's still in the industry, still an artist, or should I say he's still a rapper, producer, artist type thing. So that boisterous type of that kind of semi arrogance that has to exist with that, you know, the whole fashion world in itself. Yeah, I'm the best, braggadocious type thing. That's kind of expected for him to say. You can't really tell a person like him, hey, you got the job because you black. That's what they call him now, DEI, because I think he's the lead man for Louis Vuitton. Like, nigga, you DEI. If DEI didn't exist at all, you wouldn't have the opportunity, right, to create your own outcome, which is you going into the fashion world. You wouldn't even get the opportunity. You would have been blocked because of your race. So I get the people that could be angry, but at the same time, what he's saying is he's not saying he's against DEI. He's saying, hey, if it's not cool right now, they making it not cool, they against it. So you just gonna have to bite down. That's all he said. But hey, it is what it is. They on Pharrell ass. But then again, this December. This will be forgotten in a month or two, and he'll move on about his business and say, hey, I'm a black man working for Louis Vuitton. Support me. So it is what it is. Let's go to the next thing. Speaking of that, I'm not gonna go too deep into this. It's not that big a deal. I don't know if y'all recognize this dude right here. This Asian guy, Biddy Wong. Biddy Wong apologized for posting a racist comment on social media. I'm sorry if this moment tarnished my respect you may have had for me. So what happened is, Mark said a lot of his ego. I'm self-made. Stephen A. Smith is another example. Yeah, Stephen A. Smith might be the worst example. Stephen A. Smith is the perfect example of somebody letting power go to their head. And we found out more stuff. Shout out to what's his name? Paulo, the dude who just did an interview like a week ago or something with the Joe Budden podcast. He was asked about Stephen A. And I remember a few years ago, people were talking about, damn, Stephen A. had signed a deal for like $20 million or something. And right after that contract, he was covering baseball, UFC, boxing, NBA, NFL, hockey. They had him covering everything. And obviously fans were like, we don't want to hear Stephen A. talk about hockey. Get him out of here, yada, yada, yada. And the joke was that Stephen A. Smith had to do this to earn his money, that ESPN was putting him to work. According to other people, that's not really what happened. Stephen A. Smith was asking for that. He was asking to be put everywhere. Looking back now, hindsight 2020, he was doing that to make sure that he was the face of ESPN. He was trying to build his worth, obviously, so that now he can sign a deal for $100 million. Now he got so much control of his TV show, he can get Max Kellerman fired. He can get people removed. He can deny people interviews on the show or whatever. And we see how he's talking on his podcast now, how he's like, walk around like he's the big dog. He talked like a person who, you know, you're dismissed. Well, he's got rid of Molly Quorum. Yeah, he don't care to. He looks at it like, I'm the star. It is what it is. The same way you look at somebody like Pharrell Williams. I'm the star. It is what it is. How you get in is how you get in. I'm already in. It is what. That's why you hear Stephen A. Smith always say stuff like, I've helped the most black people in this industry. You think that's him trying to show, you know, that I care for my people, and really it's him being braggadocious to say, it's me. I'm the reason why I'm putting all these people on, because I'm me. But anyway, so this dude right here, BD Wong, this became a controversy because somebody left a comment of a black man holding an animal. It's right here. Let me show it. This black dude holding an animal. And the person asked the question, name this animal, wrong answers only. And this dude went on to say, it appears to be a black man. So obviously the joke is that he's calling the black man an animal. But it's called wrong answers only. It's going to be funny. So when he said this, obviously he got a lot of backlash. He went out and apologized. He went out and apologized for it and took accountability, as they said. And I saw so many black people, you know, standing. He's shown himself to be an ally, man. This is how you really apologize. And somebody pointed out, first off, are we really offended? It's not about being offended. Do we really care about what this man has to say? I don't care if he's in. Who cares? But then I thought, well, if we were a different group, he wouldn't even make this joke. Especially considering he's an actor. If this was a certain other man standing in this picture with the long sideburns and the what's called a hat, if he was a different man in this picture and they made the same thing, he wouldn't even make this joke. So as much as I don't care, actually, maybe there should be some fire on his ass. Maybe there should be what they call it, a 15-point apology tour, like it would be with other people who say certain things. Virginia says, no, not my favorite Asian. Shake my damn head. Never fails. You can't trust them. You can't trust them. You can't. I don't put trust in none of them. None of them. And I'm saying that part because did I delete the other video? Hold on. I have a video that shocked me. It is a video of what's his name? Oh, Shannon Sharp. I'm comparing it to this Asian dude making this joke towards black men in particular. How he held his apology and this will be remembered by a few handful of people and then we'll move on. Versus what is going to most likely come from this right here. Let me show this. This is Shannon Sharp and Chad Johnson. Now, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know how old this is because a lot of these videos be old and people will just resurface them and it'll go viral again and it turned out to be something from 6 months ago. But it's turning up right now, and let's see what they had to say in a strange, not really that strange, because this segment is about Aiden Ross. Aiden Ross is a streamer, Jewish dude, and apparently he admitted that he says the N-word. I guess during the hip-hop song, he said he says the N-word. And this is what Shannon and Chad had to say about it.
They ain't got no problem saying those words that are offensive to black people, but there's some other words that's offensive to other people. They don't never utter those. You notice that, Ocho?
Like what? Like the N-word?
Nah, I'm like I said, but there's some other words in chat. Y'all know the words I'm talking about. That's another community, but they never say that. Why they don't rap those? Why aren't they rap songs? It's the same thing with my people. Why don't y'all rap that other stuff? Mm-hmm.
Hey, which community? Hey, which community you talking about? Skittles?
Nah, because they'll say that too. They'll say something about the LGBTQ. They'll say something about that. They'll say something, but the chat know what I'm talking about.
Damn, now you got me lost too, boy. I only know about 2 communities.
Nah, this is the most powerful community in the world.
The Skittles community is the most powerful.
No, it's not. There's another country that has a white and blue flag with a star on it. No, it's not. It's not even close.
Think about this for a second. 2 very mature, I'm not talking about their personality, I'm talking about how old they are. 2 older black men are having a Skittles, are having a conversation. It's based off of them having sponsorships and stuff. Isn't Skittles more offensive than just saying gay? Chad, if you try not to be offensive, you should have just said gay instead of saying. But anyway, think about this for a second. These are 2 very confident, strong-minded, some would say a little arrogant. I'm not saying, I never say arrogance is a bad thing, but it's a little touch of that in that athlete. Men, these are 40 plus, and they've spent 1 minute talking around a name. Think about it for a second. They've spent a minute talking around a name rather than saying Jewish people, Israel. The man named the flag, said they're the most powerful group. And then when people point out the extreme level of silencing and power those people clearly got, they call you anti-Semitic. They're talking about a Jewish man who admitting that he says the N-word. And it won't say, well, why anybody ain't using the Jewish slur? Virginia said a few times I watched these 2. It's cause remind me of my 2 aunties in some way. 2 aunties, that's crazy.
Oh, they own every damn thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, okay. I bet. Why don't he say something about derogatory about that? Why he don't rap that?
Oh,
he want to create content. You told me you're a content creator.
Hey,
create some content.
They own everything, boy. You hear me? Behind every. Boy, if you was to peel back the layers, yeah, man, I ain't. I'm gonna leave that alone.
That's all I'm saying.
Look at that. Look at this. These are 2 adult males, and they can't even say it. Because if they say it, they're kaput. Which is funny because I'm pretty sure I see the what's called that. I think this might have been old. I feel like that's Prize Picks. So they're sponsored by Prize Picks. Well, guess who owns Prize Picks? Guess who runs that? Zionists too. So it's crazy.
See, people don't have no problem saying that. But boy, no matter the community, there's a derogatory term that will describe said community. It doesn't matter.
Well, and I'll go back to this. People always say the reason why other groups are comfortable saying things that we say is because we say it around them. Like back in the day, you didn't say certain things around other groups of people. Like if you was a black person, you saw another black person in public, whether they were friend, family, or just a stranger you was talking to, you didn't nigga, all that stuff. You didn't talk like that to each other because you didn't want them to be in your business wanting to be hearing you talk, and you didn't want them to feel comfortable enough to call you that because you're calling each other that. Just because we saying nigga to each other don't mean I want you to be comfortable calling me saying nigga to me. Virginia says, check this out, y'all, because the cost is too great. Highlights of MJ found out. What is this? Hold on, let me just click it right quick. Let me see what this is. Hold on.
So this.
Oh, okay, I see. How Michael Jackson won and lost the Beatles catalog. Okay. They weren't gonna let him keep that anyway. But yeah, you gotta be careful what you say around people. Now, to end it off so this comment he made, BD Wong, he made the racist black man joke. We saw Kyrie Irving tweet a link, and they gave him a 10-point step on how to apologize. You need to donate money. You need to visit a synagogue. You need to go to the Holocaust Museum. Yada, yada, yada. Tweeted a link. But, you know, it is what it is. You got to get your power up, black people. Let's move on. We could kind of skip this. Yeah, I want to play a little bit of this. This is about the tech takeover. Because I'm going to get to what these billionaires using their wives to create these organizations for these foreign countries to do nefarious things. Let me play this.
Is to avoid Congolese miners having to go down mines to extract these minerals in really dangerous circumstances. I would have thought that the first priority of any technology driven by concern for human welfare and the benefit of most humans would start with, let's try and avoid people dying unnecessarily.
But this technology isn't driven by the concern for human welfare.
Oh.
Like, again, if you look at people who are driving this technology, they want to build AI God.
But why?
Because it's cool. And
AI God is just atheism. It's just self-worship. They don't want to create AI God. They want to create God. That's the whole beliefs of atheism, which is that it doesn't exist. It's something we created. And so that the whole purpose of AI is to prove we created it. We're going to do it again.
They're fed up with humans.
Just self-worship.
Like, some of the people that are building this technology actually say it'd be better if humans are replaced by AI or some sort of synthesis between them. Like, do you hear the people coming out that the AI leaders typically come out?
And this ties back to, I don't know if y'all saw it. There was a headline, I think last week, where it says that Kim Kardashian went to on her show, apparently. There was a viral clip that came from her show where the doctor told her that she had low brain activity. And people was joking and laughing. And I thought, this seems like an ad for something. And I remember this thing that Elon Musk has that ties humans to computers to make them have full access to things, memory, all this stuff. And I said, interesting.
Out and say, hey, we need to think about the people and make it democratized and this and that, but only because that's a bigger market, only because they don't want flashback. They don't really care about the people in the Congo and things like that, because there are also several orders removed from them. Like, again, you can mandate that you have ethically mined stuff to standards, etc., but by the time you see the cobalt, you don't look at the supply chain, you know?
Same thing with the blood diamonds. The cobalt that's been coming out of the South of Africa, not South Africa, but the South of Africa. That's how you get your phones and stuff. They've been doing it for a long time. That's why you look at Africa and you just go, man, y'all have so many resources that supplies the entire planet. And it's just like, I get it. They did the same thing to us here in America with the whole getting rid of that leader. They're always forming these coups and killing these leaders. But man, they just get one person. And that's sad, ain't it? They got 10 people on the continent that could just galvanize a good 10% of the population in these countries. They could just completely flip the perception of Africa in like two generations, maybe. But it's crazy. Virginia says our generation learned about good concept via a book. Next one's coming will be via AI. Mark says Tower of Babel all over again. Facts. That's exactly what they've been building. It's kind of already here. Like, look at this right here. Show you this. But this is from another AI model they have called Nano Banana. So the first one, which is the standard one that people use, and then I'm gonna show you how to look the pro version. So when you generate an AI picture, this is typically how it looks. You see here, you can take the lighting, the softness of the skin, no blemishes. The skin is too clear. It's kind of obvious this is AI. This is what they're doing now. Look at this. This is AI. This is not a real thing. Like the shadows, the fingers, even the stuff behind it, the blurriness is not too far away. This is just what, 2 years now? 2 years they've been pushing this AI thing hard as they've been doing it for decades, obviously. But they're slowly getting giving it to you slowly, had access to it for 30 years. And it's just like, where will we be in 5 years? We'll see. Let me show this now. Oh, shit. Let me show this. Bridal bliss. Senator Cory Booker and Alexis Lewis tie the knot twice. I was not going to go too far into this. You know, we knew he was going to make this move, Cory Booker, because obviously 2028 is on the way. You got to start pushing. You got to start doing it now. You're just not going to win presidency as a bachelor. It's just not happening. He decided to get married. And it's funny because his wife looks somewhat like Rosario Dawson, who's now, if I'm not mistaken, is with a woman. So she went from him to a woman. So Cory Booker is now married. He's going to try to make his push again, along with this peer. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro. If you remember, Josh Shapiro is the person who Kamala Harris wanted to be her vice president in her run, but he said no. He turned it down. So she chose old buddy. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro and supporters of the Crown Act gather in Philadelphia to sign the bill into law on Tuesday. The law is designed to prevent hair discrimination in the workplace, schools, and places of business in Pennsylvania. When I saw this, I immediately said, we still doing this. This Crown Act thing is still being pushed as like this great legislation that's actually doing something.
Today, when I sign the Crown Act into law, that will be the next step in making good on that promise of bringing about real freedom for all Pennsylvanians.
This public policy campaign is my brainchild in a nationwide effort I have led since 2018. Determining it was necessary to change the law to help redress the long-standing and problematic practice of racial discrimination in the form of hair discrimination, I subsequently developed the national legislative, social impact, and coalition building strategies for this movement because for too long, a myopic notion of professionalism and Eurocentric standards of beauty have perpetuated racial inequity and exclusion. Too many Black children have been suspended and missed what should be valuable instruction time because their hair, worn in ways that are aligned with their racial identity, have been deemed a violation of school rules.
I am a child growing up in the Virgin Islands with natural hair. Natural hair has been braids, twists, locks.
Now, I want to point out both the women that has been shown, neither is Black American. Got to make sure we point that out. And obviously, this is meant to, Josh Shapiro obviously is doing this to build or attempt to build his Black female support for his 2028 run. That's going to be interesting what happens. Obviously got Newsom, and it's like people just not biting on that, but we'll see. I just thought this was hilarious that this is how he's going to try to build it up to start, at least. Crown Act. Okay. We'll see, man. What else we got? Hold on, y'all. Hold on. All right. Next, speaking of trying to get support, Candace Owens. Now this was a couple weeks ago. It's actually right a little bit after the show. I went on social media and I saw that she had posted this. This Candace Owens is saying that the Macrons are trying to get her assassinated. She said, urgent. 2 days ago, I was contracted by a high-ranking employee in French government After determining the person's position in proximity to the French couple, I have deemed the information they gave me to be credible enough to share publicly in the event of something happening. In short, this person claims that the Macrons have executed upon and paid for my assassination. Do we believe Candace Owens? Because I'm seeing a lot of the right-wingers turn on her because of her views on Israel. And I've seen it because her views on Israel and the Charlie Kirk murder, when she's saying that it is Mossad or other agencies that has something to do with it. So a lot of them are saying that she's a blowhorn. Don't listen to her anymore. She's just doing it for views. She's getting on social media saying stuff. I saw a live stream. I didn't see it, but in my feed, I saw a live stream. Candace Owens was live. And it was 55,000 people in the live, right? I'll say maybe a couple minutes later, I refreshed the page and it was 155,000 people in her live. And I don't think it peaked there. I thought, damn, how big is Candace Owens' platform at this point? Talk about knowing how to pivot. She went from being on the Daily Wire to doing her own thing now, and she might be bigger than she ever was. Now, do I believe that the Macrons are trying to get her assassinated? Her saying this publicly is not a surprise because she said things publicly that may not be true. But she's very good at laying stuff out to be believable. She has built some level of credibility because with other stories, she gives you a lot of detail and receipts. As with Macron's, if you look at her series she did on him and his wife, she kind of proved her point. So she's gained some level of credibility. So she come out and say, hey, somebody trying to kill me. You kind of like, maybe that's true. Craig said she better call Tyler Robinson. And Regina said messing with them Jews, she's hitting a nerve. Yeah, I don't know if I believe. I don't know. This thing is just an elaborate way for her to continue to build her platform. She's making sure she say things in a certain way. I was told this. She's not saying this is true. She's saying I was told this. They seem credible. So if nothing comes from it, she can say, oh, the person was lying to me. So yeah. Virginia said, shit, that's a man 2 eyes can see. That's the man's wife.
Well, we don't believe you. You need more people.
That he started dating when she was like decades older than him. Yeah. They don't even talk about that part. Let alone it being an obvious man. The age difference is second crazy. It's like, all right, bro. But yeah, Candace Owens saying this. I don't know. This was the 21st. She said this is already in December now. So, I'm pretty sure she's been speaking on it. I haven't seen anything really come from it consistently. We'll see. Because that lawsuit ain't going nowhere, and we'll see how this affect things in the future. Candace Owens is in a weird spot because the far right don't really like her because of the Israel thing and the Charlie Kirk stuff she's doing. But, you know, the left definitely don't like her. But then in the moderate area, she's a little too right for them. So that's why I guess she's not talking politics no more. She's into scandal type stories. Y'all want to show this too. The wives of billionaires. Because I found out that what's his name? The dude who owns Amazon found out his wife, who donated a couple mil to some HBCUs, her mentor or whatever was Robert. What's her name? Hold on, y'all. Toni Morrison. That's her name. Morrison. Which was like shocking. Like small world. It's crazy how that person influenced a soon to be, at that point she wasn't obviously, the richest man in the world's wife turned out to be mentored by Morrison. But let me show this video here. Hold on. Of them speaking somewhat on it.
But what happened around the pandemic is that this whole other segment, what I don't think many of the tech mafia wives realize is that they were used to set the groundwork for what was called like the reset,
Mm.
what is called generally as like the reset
We heard it a lot in 2020, the Great Reset.
by the Klaus Schwab.
And to be honest, this is Blaze Media, so yeah.
Like the Great Reset.
The Great Reset. Yeah. They openly talk about this Great Reset.
Yeah.
So the tech wife mafias, I believe, were kind of being conscripted in many ways, and their money especially was being conscripted in to set the groundwork for the Great Reset.
Yeah. Specifically through
a network of NGO advisors, relationship with Hollywood, relationship with Davos, and their own companies. So if you look at like who's on these boards, who hangs out with each other, how the culture of tech wealth works, like Silicon Valley tech wealth, and that small group of people responsible for a huge amount of money and a huge amount of NGO activity across the United States. It's a really small group of people, and it's a really small group of people making these decisions.
Yeah.
And then completely blind to everything else that's going on and how their groundwork is being used to then enable these other policies, these Great Reset policies. Now, what this group...
It's the same thing that happened with the mothers who went to the schools and demanded a change to the curriculum because the confidence of their boys was falling. The boys had fell in school. The white women went to these schools, demanding the curriculum changes. Our boys are failing. Get it up out of here. Not realizing that was being used to push out other things out of the curriculum into, at some point down the line, it ended up getting rid of affirmative action. Because in the curriculum, you wanted changed. You wanted them to not talk about certain things during slavery, the racist stuff that happened in the past, because it was unnecessary to be learned it was unnecessary to learn a certain way. It was learned one way, as they called it. Now that was used to get rid of affirmative action, and now the DEI, which in turn impact them the most. So the thing they were fighting for ended up being something that they was used to go against them. Which is why you see when you talk about Africa and a lot of these NGOs or these people call themselves trying to build infrastructure for them. They send the women because she could be, Mother Teresa. She could be the nurturing, empathetic person, the woman. She's coming to help. They'll trust her, and then she get there and some shady stuff happen, and she able to fold it up and keep moving. But it's already been a foundation laid there. There's an organization there now that's on the ground that's harming these people. Look at Oprah. Oprah opened a school in Africa, put a white man in charge of the school, and then the white man was molesting the girls. They trusted a woman's face, and then, he came behind and did what he wanted to do. But anyway, I want to show this. The Nick Fuentes, I don't know how to say his name, the Mexican white supremacist. He's been growing a platform, and I want to show the talk around him and how this is funny. Because horn theory is really true. Let me play this.
Like, who are the real enemies? Like, this whole tour has had, it's not a Paul, but it's had the memory, the thought of Charlie over it, in both a very positive way, like an inspirational way, but also, there's something obviously deeply sad about not having him here. He was supposed to be with us last night in Bakersfield. And the whole tour, we've talked about this rift within the right. We had Tucker, then we had Ben. And all I keep thinking to myself is, the other side is literally killing us. Can we please keep our eye on the ball? Like, that's who the enemy is. The enemy is the radical left that is radicalizing young men so much to the point where they feel they had no other options but to start killing us.
So this woman is blaming the left for radicalizing young white males who are now killing people.
That's the problem. Let's keep our eyes on that one.
Well, when we say that the young boys who end up joining gangs and commit violence, we say that that's a culture problem. But you're putting the blame on politics with. Anyway.
I agree. But I would warn, and I know this is not a popular position, and I appreciate, I think you and I both want the same thing. We want, honestly, to never have Gavin Newsom be president. Let's just,
Yes.
I think, oh my God. They like, hello, California, you know what I mean? And my concern, your concern is we have to hold everyone together to get there. My concern is that people who are a bit more moderate are deeply alarmed by Nick Fuentes.
Well, he's not part of the coalition.
And that's what I think needs to be said. As often as possible.
Yeah.
So now they're trying to cut off the quote-unquote extreme right wing. And the women are doing it. The women, thank you, Craig, for some white girl magic. These women are, let me tell you something. What they've done in maybe the last 5 to 10 years with Caucasian, this is brilliant what they're trying to do. They're trying to shift the culture, obviously. But the way they've now put women at the face of the quote-unquote, I guess you would call it, is it still MAGA now, or have they changed it to something else? They've found a way to now place the women at the front. And now the women are trying to gently separate from what they would call they would call the extreme right wing, for it to be more presentable to that champagne middle class Caucasian woman who typically votes moderate. She votes Republican here and there, but she'll vote liberal here and there. They're trying to convince her to support this side more, so they have to, thump off certain people. That's why she used them by name. It's on purpose to try and separate it. But that ain't the reason why they truly want to separate from him. But anyway.
This is not what it means to be a conservative.
No, it isn't.
They're trying to reset from the Trump era. Oh. And with that, I want to show this here, the reset that they're trying to create. Hold on. Is this what I want to show right now? No, not yet. Not this. Hold on. Oh, here we go. Now, this dude had this to say. This is a dude. His father is African. His mother's Black American. This is Irmami. The dude who he's been on Yvette's platform and a few other people's platform. I've talked about him before, obviously. He said this. He said Fred Hampton was asking racist whites to join in on working class coalition with him. We need to admit that Nick Fuentes may be the white Fred Hampton. So obviously when you hear that, it's all like, what? What the hell are you talking about? This is silly. He said, within the left, we don't have an answer when Alpac screws up black politics, Misandry screws up labor politics, market liberals make us the U.S. the unaffordable as California. We need help. We don't always get to pick the help we need. And this is what he mean by that. This is what he was saying, talking about the Matt Walsh dude.
Matt Walsh, you're such a good little Shabbos goy. No, I'm a man. I have a beard and I wear a flannel shirt. I'm a man. But when the Jews crack the whip, whoosh, whoosh. Get back to work, Matt Walsh. Get back to work. Do not criticize Israel. Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Ben Shapiro. Literally, and Michael Knowles, little fairy. Oh, I'm such a cool little metrosexual. I'm Michael Knowles. I'm dancing on the table like a little fairy. And he bends the knee for Israel. Candace Owens, meanwhile, is a boss bitch. She don't take no shit from nobody. What you mean? What you mean I ain't on Daily Wire? What you mean I can't do my show, bitch? That's Candace Owens. That's like a Russian to Candace Owens.
Candace don't speak like that at all, but that's a little racism he had to throw in. He's against Israel. That's why they're trying to separate from him. But also, with the shift they're trying to create in the culture and trying to force those family values they say are dying, they have to use a Caucasian woman to build it up. He also said he would work with all these other people. I ain't gonna play all this stuff. He was pointing out all the left-wing people he would work with, Mom Donnie. He would work with the people that want to build legislation to get rid of certain things out of our politics and stuff, yada, yada, yada. He's at the forefront of trying to force a culture change, but he's doing it in a way they don't like. So I want to show this right here. This is saying, well, yeah. Vietnam War veteran, Vietnam veteran Akeem Lawrence on Injustice in America, Society, 1968. I'm going to tie this together. Just give me a second.
This revolution is filled with so many ironies, really. First, you tell us that it is manly to keep your word. All right? If you are a man, you keep your word. And now all that the black people in this country are demanding, and even the black people in the whole world are demanding, is that you keep your word. You told us we were free. Well, then show us that we're free. You told us that there is justice, equality for all in this country. Well, then stick to your word and let us see the justice and equality for all. Or else admit to us that you're not a man, you're a worm, you're afraid of us, you're afraid to give us equal stand. You're afraid that if you give us equal ground that we will match you and we will override you. And if that's what you're afraid of us, then tell us that just what you're afraid of. But don't keep hiding it from us and holding this up to us, and every time we ask you for something, you give us a little bit of something, and it's all tokenism. We don't want tokenism. And there are most black men in this world that don't want charity. And yet still every time we ask you for something, you give us a little piece, a little piece. You're playing games with us. We're not children. We're big men. I've seen my father have to put up with all kinds of stuff. He was a big man. He raised a family. He went down south, and he had to go around to the back door with his wife. We're not asking for anything. We're not asking for any favors. All we want is what's ours.
The frustration. Now, the frustration you see in that clip, the military-like stance, the strong opinions, standing on what he believed. I'm not saying the Nick dude, as the other person said, it's not going to sound like when a black person says it, because he's speaking about it from the perspective of his America. He's talking about what white people, his people, want. But saying he's willing to do things with other groups in order to get to that is exactly what Fred Hampton said. Which goes back to the whole idea of the leadership thing, where masculinity for different communities is viewed different, obviously. Because as this person already says, the generation of black men was among the most militant in the 20th century. They integrated all of the revolutionary theories from around the world and applied it to their experiences in America. It's a shame that instead of modeling them, we spent our time over the past 40 years calling them in the Black Power movement they created sexist and misogynistic. And that's what I see going on. It's not the exact same, but that's what I see coming from Megyn Kelly and the other woman towards Nick. He's too radical for them. Even though they believe the same thing, they're lying. They absolutely believe the same thing as him. But they think it needs to be toned down to appear to a larger audience. That's what's happened to black people. If you say certain things now, strong opinions, people won't even just say you radical no more. They'll say you woke. And that's now a disrespectful thing. It's no longer means what it means. They'll call you woke and dismiss you. In one ear, out the other. So that problem is not just existing amongst black people. You see, they're now dealing with it. Even though he's just some dude just talking shit to the internet, he's not nowhere near willing to go out in the streets and stand on it like these men were. But it's crazy how, I just say time is a circle, and it's just a mirror sometimes. It just happens to a different group, but it just keeps happening. The things you put onto another group, it ends up happening to you. It's just funny. But anyway, oh yeah, I saw this right here already. The Dalai Lama was on the CIA's payroll amid 2 decades of Tibetan unrest, receiving a $180,000 annual subsidy. We already saw this when they put out the 2020 COVID bill, and inside that bill they had a little line there talking about the money they have to give the Dalai Lama and saying that we need to prepare for another Dalai Lama. And it kind of went under the radar. Me and Travis, we kept saying, like, why is the Dalai Lama in the COVID bill? And now it's like, yeah, which was already known. There's documents already showing that the Dalai Lama was part of a group. He was a CIA, part of CIA activity for propaganda and paramilitary activity and stuff. So it was already known, but it's just funny it's being revealed to be true. And that's who they tell black men to model ourselves. A Tibetan man who was around tongue-kissing children. That's funny, right? Anyway, what else we got? It's the last segment. Oh, here we go. Let me show this. This was pretty crazy to see. This paper on how to increase Afro-immigrants at HBCU suggests states to offer the state tuition rates to undocumented students without being required to extend the same benefits to all U.S. citizens. How is it equitable if you don't extend the same benefits to all? This is the paper. Repealing Section 505 will remove this barrier and allow states to offer in-state tuition rates to undocumented students without being required to extend the same benefits to U.S. citizens, would help level the playing field and ensure that all students have equitable access to higher education opportunities. So basically, that's what they would call DEI, except that's the negative one. That's not the one where you just get the opportunity. That's the actual outcome. So they basically offer these melanated immigrants tuitions. So not tuition, I'm sorry. Offer them state tuition rates that they didn't give Black Americans. And then when you look at the rate, the percentage now of these HBCUs that are non-Black American, it shouldn't be a surprise. They literally purposely funnel these people into your education system. And then tell you when you're not at the school, it's because of you're failing, even though you were given less of a chance than them. But it is what it is. What is this? Dr. Smalls, who came out and said that FBA is part of the CIA, but now they own him for saying this right here. He's a Pan-Africanist, but he called FBA and ADOS stuff stupid. But now they found a video of him saying this.
I mean, there is a whole thing about. I mean, we know that yes, we were brought that the African slave trade existed, but there is some debate. Did it exist to the level they say it existed?
Yeah.
Now, a lot of us were already here. Think about what makes more sense. That yes, people that Africans were all over this planet Earth, or people that we like to call Africans because I think we the original indigenous people of the planet Earth.
Well,
I don't even like to
we are the original indigenous people of the whole planet Earth, so there should never have been a discussion about our indigeneity in North America. My family, part of my family, look at me. I know where my graves are. I know where I'm talking about the graves of those who came before the slave ships, because we didn't bury underground. We buried above the ground. And the mounds are all over Oak Hill. And we would go clean it every year. Our grandfather took us to clean them. And we would replace the instruments and tools and things on their graves. I didn't understand what that was about when I was a child, but we did it every year. That's something we did.
So the man who's a Pan-African is another one. This is another one has now come out and said that he is indigenous to America, according to his parents, his family, his lineage. But I don't know if he said this, but I've been seeing a lot of the Pan-Africanists call people pretendians, making jokes and mocking them. So that's just hilarious to me. Federal agents launched immigration enforcement in New Orleans. They in New Orleans, now they was in North Carolina, and still kicking these people out. I don't think I have anything else, y'all. Hold on. Oh, gotta show this. This is the last thing we're gonna get to. Virginia said, I'm not surprised with Professor Smalls. He flip-flops a lot, and he must have PHM ties to Africa, allegedly for his loyalty. Yeah, I'm not surprised either, especially considering he was supposed to be cool with Tariq. He made some money with him, and now, when that money get low, I want to talk about this last right here. This should be the last topic. Hold on. Yeah, this should be. The Somalis. So the Somalis are being under fire. The conservatives are on their ass now. And so they've been under scrutiny and people want them deported and stuff. Obviously what's going on in Minneapolis with what's her name, and they don't like how big of the population they are becoming. So now the Somalis are coming out saying that Black America needs to stand with them. Now keep in mind, this may be just on social media for some people, but people have reported this in real life too, in the real world. Somalis are very quick to call you was it Jair? I don't know how to say the word correctly. Maybe I'm saying it wrong. They will quickly tell you that they're not sub-Saharan African. They are not Negro. So this dude right here, Somali dude, said this. He said more white people are standing with Somalis in Minnesota than blacks. Very eye-opening. Let me play this video here of the Caucasian talking about it. Craig said, the better call the fellow Middle Easterner. Oh, deleted your comment? Oh, you must have deleted it. I don't know. He said, they better call their fellow Middle East. That's what they said. They said they're Arabs. But anyway, let me play this.
ICE is in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. Trump is using them to target our Somali neighbors. He is saying some racist, horrific things about Somalis. But you know what? It's not surprising. It's who he is. And it's even worse when things aren't going well for him, and they're not going well right now. But we have to remember that he's picking on Somalis now. He picks on folks that are less able to defend themselves. It's been Mexicans, it's been trans folks, you name it, and there will be more. But what I want to say is we value our Somali neighbors. We love having them as part of our community. They're an important part of our community, and we welcome them here and stand by them.
I think, Trump said something about Somalia being a garbage country or something. A garbage country or something. And it's funny, they can't really get too angry at his words, because when I saw that video of that Somali man being deported back to Somalia, and he was crying. He was on the ground in Somalia. He was crying and saying how he can't get back to, he begging Trump to let him get his passport back. So when Trump words hit, it's kind of like, it is what it is. But the U.S. CIS effective immediately, this is 26, processing all immigration requests relating to Afghan nationals is stopped indefinitely pending further review of security and vetting protocol. Obviously, it's because of the quote unquote attack that happened to the whatchamacallit, where the Arab dude shot up something. I think he shot 2 people recently. But this is a Nigerian dude right here. He's not the one who shot, but he said, we can learn from this. Actually, he is, I'm sorry. But we can learn from this. If a single Nigerian does something extremely stupid in the U.S., the Trump administration will block all entry immigration requests relating to Nigerian nationals. Remember this guy? If anyone from Nigeria attempts anything similar today on U.S. soil, somebody from Nigeria will be allowed, nobody from Nigeria will be allowed to arrive in the U.S. or immigrants or study there. If it's it is their nation, it is their rules, not my bloody business. But just to let you know, you are used to the old America. The new America is an entirely different kettle of fish. So they're recognizing that this is a threat to them too. But this is the continuation of where is it at? Hold on. Okay, there's some action to the Somali. All these supposed support they're getting from white people is actually not true, and they're telling them we want you out of the damn country. But I think I might delete it. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. So I'm gonna end with one last thing after this. Something was taken down, deleted. Never mind. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. I'm sorry. All right. End with right here. question posed by, I think, an Asian man, if I'm not mistaken. I had this to say. He had a question that he wanted to pose. Let me show this. We're going to end off with this. Black America has fundamentally already reached its end of history. It has nowhere to go from here but just further and accelerating integration into the American mainstream, both genetically and culturally. There's nothing left for it. Nothing new is coming. That's coming. It's just entering a mass dilution. This enrages both hardcore white nationalists and black activists. Perhaps it will be great for American cohesion in the long run. So we've heard this before. We see a lot of the people who talk about the ADOS FBA stuff saying that this is the erasure. They're trying to predict the erasure of this group of people. What's funny is the way he make it sound, end of history. It's almost like he's actually viewing Black America as its own ethnicity, its own entity. But it's like he's comparing it to the Roman Empire or something. Like it's already went all the way up as it can get, and it's already on its way down. It's going to be completely absorbed into mainstream America. Pretty much saying it's going to be mixed up in society. But you could tell he's saying this from the outside because he's saying this from a perspective. He's saying this in a way where the country's culture will at some point erase Black American influence. When, if you talk about a mixing of cultures, it's actually going to be the opposite. The Black American influence is going to grow stronger and it's going to become the norm, which it pretty much already is. But somebody disagreed with me. I was going to quote you this, but I do not want to pollute your mentions with exuberant followers. That being said, I disagree vehemently because the centuries-old racial caste system is still alive here. I just think that we are moving towards a Latin American version of it. But he had this to say to him because it added a level of complex that I want to talk about right quick. Complexity. He said, "You," talking to the other person that responded, "are a very perfect example of this dissolution. You're half Black American and your children are even fractionally less. Black America is just becoming blended and more hybridized and just integrating into a broader mainstream. And to be fair, I think it's healthy for it. But I do agree that race won't completely go away. I do think that the traditional pure Black American stock is going to vastly disappear. And thank you for saving my mentions." So he made this point. And the first thing people talk about, obviously, when you talk about Black American culture being completely absorbed, you think white America. But he's making the point that it's going to be immigrants, it's going to be other races, obviously. And when you look down south, you look at Alabama, obviously Houston, Georgia, North Carolina now, there's a big influx of people who are from the Caribbean or African countries. And those people are blending. I talked about it 2 weeks ago that you got these people that come to this country and purposely completely try to blend in with no type of connection to the country they come from. They don't teach the kids the language, nothing. They come here, they marry a Black American, they have children, or they come here with their children, don't teach them their home language, don't teach them nothing about their home language, and pretty much force their kids to completely blend in with the rest of Black America. Thus, those people grow up, they end up mingling around, they marry and procreate, and now you have these people that come from a totally different lineage and they don't learn nothing about it. Now, that's a situation where they're hiding a culture. But the prediction that he's trying to make is that there's going to be a situation where these people you're going to have a person that has a child with a Black American, and then that child is going to marry a non-Black American, which could be, like I said, Caribbean, African, or a different race. And he's saying like in the next 20 years that won't exist. I disagree because I believe because of the movements like that's been growing the last decade, that won't happen. I think those things are gonna get stronger. We talk about the FBA ADOS stuff. Although I do understand that when you talk about real life relationships, that can sometimes collide with people's politics. People tend to not always date their politics. So I thought that was a real crazy thing to say, but then we found it interesting, the person from outside looking in, having that opinion. It's nice to have that. It's nice to see that from somebody from an outside perspective, share something like that so you can think about it. Because typically people always talk about just interracial dating. They don't think about the cultural dilution that happens in other ways. And with hip hop and all the musical influences seeming to kind of taper and fall down, and all the other stuff going on, it's kind of it's not the worst thing to think about. Anyway, I think that's all. That's the stuff I could bring up, like the two white dudes that wanted to go to Jamaica. I'm sorry, not Jamaica, Haiti, and take it over and unalive the men and enslave the women. Matter of fact, that this is crazy.
Military training he thought he needed.
A federal grand jury indicted 2 North Texas men.
For Thomas.
A federal grand jury indicted 2 North Texas men accused of plotting to invade a foreign island, kill the men, and take the women as sex slaves.
Prosecutors say one of the men enlisted in the Air Force to get military training he thought he needed. Fox 4's Blake Hansen in our newsroom tonight with these stunning allegations. Blake.
Yeah, Stephen Heather, federal prosecutors say the suspects didn't plan to go it alone. In fact, the feds say they plan to recruit people who are homeless in Washington, D.C. to serve on their, quote, expeditionary force and take over a small Haitian island. The grand jury indictment handed up today charges 21-year-old Gavin Weisenberg from Allen and 20-year-old Tanner Thomas from Argyle with conspiracy to murder, maim, or kidnap in a foreign country, as well as a charge of production of child pornography. Record show Weisenberg was booked into the Collin County Jail in July. We've not been able to find a mugshot for Thomas. Prosecutors say he was in the U.S. Air Force at the time. Argyle.
You just knew that part was going to be in there. You just knew that last part was going to be in there. The chat, the CP. You already knew what they was on. Talking about you wanted to take the kill the man and take the women. You don't want the women. You want the kids. That's what you all about, you sickos. But Regina said those two ignorants must don't know anything about Haitian history. Pale foolishness. Well, see, that's the thing. That's that conqueror spirit. It's irrational. It's not even about whether they actually could have did it. It's the fact that they believe they could because of history. They believe the lies they've been told. But yeah, they would have stepped a toe on that island. They would have been put down pretty quick. So kind of in a weird way, you kind of like, if they would have even tried to do this, it would have been an even funnier story if they would have went there and got killed. Craig says more white man logic. Virginia says pale Pharaoh, now no match for Haitian Pharaoh, dummies. Just one toe. Exactly. That hatchet would have hit him so fast. But that's the crazy part, is all that conspiracy to do all the extra stuff. It wasn't even about none of that. It was just about being a pedophile. That's all it's about. They were pedophiles. Go people. But anyway, I think that's all we got this week. Hopefully you enjoyed the show, the conversation. Appreciate the support as always. Y'all be safe out there. Y'all stay safe. Probably not gonna be live next week. Like I said, I have to do this every other week. Now, the top of next year, I'm gonna get a lot busier on this channel. I've been slacking like crazy for months. I know. I'm gonna turn it back up the top of next year. And I'm gonna put out more content and start back actually trying to commit to this a little bit. But anyway, man, y'all be safe. All praise to the Most High. Peace, man.